After removing a few pieces from the wall of the cubicle, Yan had found the exit that the escapee had used. Although the hole is still quite small, he knew that if he kept on digging through it, then he would be able to get out of here. Shawshank Redemption style. And so, he started to dig, hoping to get out of this sickening special task force and to regain his freedom. We returned to the cells where the trainee soldiers were sleeping and resting inside. A member of the special task force was calling out for each trainee number. He continued to take attendance and then started to call out for Yan's number 974. But then he doesn't answer the warden, causing him to think that Yan had escaped, so the warden went to check on his cell. Luckily, Yan was chilling in his cell and finally reported that he was here. Since roll call was done, the warden orders everyone to blow out their candles. As he sat in his cell, Yan realized that as he performs missions, the more cautiously you move, the higher the rate of success. After all, he knew that he only had one chance. Even if he succeeds in escaping, the pursuit squad will be after him and that will bring him a lot of trouble. In the worst case scenario where he fails, then he was going to get his head sliced off, placed on a stick for birds to eat, to be seen as an example for the remaining trainees on what not to do. Yan figures that he needed a card that could become an unexpected variable, but he wasn't sure if he could do it with his current body, but decided to since he didn't have a choice. In a meditating position, Yan was focused on working on his mana around his body in the form of a white light. He was using the Dark Dragon's breathing, a mana circulation technique that only the Special Task Force commanders know. As he circulated his mana, Yan only had the knowledge of the technique, but the problem was that his body couldn't keep up with it, so he needed to reduce the burden on his body and create the energy core to act as the mana engine. But right now, he didn't have enough time to create an energy core with just the Dark Dragon's breathing, so there was only one other way for him. Yan started to breathe in and breathe out multiple times, as the other way was for him to use the Divine Dragon's breathing. The white light around his body started to disappear as the light in his veins shined brightly. He couldn't believe that the flow of mana would be this fast, as it was far beyond his expectations. He could definitely feel the overflowing mana throughout his body. It felt as though an actual dragon had entered his body. The Divine Dragon's breathing was the secret technique of the first emperor who founded this empire, as he conquered numerous countries with a single sword. The technique was so powerful that the emperor who was bored went out searching for it personally. Just as Yan was thinking about how powerful the technique is, just as its name applies, he felt something was off. He looked at his body and could see that the mana was leaving his energy core, which is something he couldn't let continue. So he struggles with all his might, doing whatever he needs to do in order to contain the mana within his weak little body. After some time, Yan was breathing heavily as steam appeared all over his body. He had failed. As he wiped the sweat off his face, he guessed that it was impossible for him to create an energy core with an incomplete secret technique. He recalled in his past life that one day, the emperor taught the secret technique to him. Yan didn't know if he was just being whimsical or just testing him. But in the scroll that he gave him, there were only instructions on how to absorb mana. But no instructions on how to compress the mana. Luckily, Yan knew where the other secret technique scroll was, but first, he needed to focus on escaping before a certain event started. The next day, trainee soldiers were discussing amongst themselves that they had heard those gathered here today will be released. Yan could hear what they were talking about, but called it ridiculous dreams, based on what he remembers. Today was the day that a certain person came here, so he knew that he needed to stay out of his sight as much as possible. Roman was in the back, shouting out for Yan, which made him cover his head with his hoodie. The trainee soldiers could now see the instructor, making them believe that they could go back home today. The instructor finally appears and the first words he said to them is, "Shut up, you vermins." His voice wasn't normal, as it causes everyone to flinch with pain. Even Yan had to cover his ears, as he couldn't believe that the instructor would use an aura voice head on trainee soldiers. Aura voice echo is a technique where one infuses mana into their voice. Its effects were deadly, as one of the trainee soldiers felt that something wrong was going on with his heart as blood dripped from his eyes. The instructor stood above them, covered in a purple-like aura. He continues to tell the trainee soldiers that they were trash who have neither talent nor status. Yan couldn't believe that he was meeting this lunatic once again. "Is there a reason that you all should remain alive?" asked Special Task Force Training Center Instructor Commander Damien, with a cold look on his face. A red clock soldier drags away a trainee soldier who died from Damien's aura voice, shouting at the remaining trainee soldiers to be quiet and to sort themselves out immediately while moving quietly, reminding them that the instructor commander was watching. Yan was still staring right at Damien, thinking that he needed to be careful. Low-ranked trainee soldiers were just toys to the instructor commander. Yan knew that if he gets on his bad side before escaping, then he would have to even give up his life. Damien begins to greet everyone present before him, calling them his beloved trainee soldiers. But he also calls everyone out here as trash, since he believes that all of them have the worst talents or statuses in society. He even reveals his true feelings to everyone, that if he could, he would kill all of them right now. But he gives them a smile while telling them not to worry, since the Emperor, who's even greater than the heavens, have given them all one last chance. The chance to be selected to participate in a mercenary project. This is a project to select the members to protect the Emperor, the dragon of the Empire. The selected ones will have the honor of protecting the Emperor as a dragon warrior. But the reality is different. They'd brainwash the trainee soldier by inserting a bug into their brain. The true objective of this project is to create puppets for the Emperor to control. To create people who can't even kill themselves without the order from the Emperor. Damien continues to praise the Emperor, calling him generous and considerate. He tells them to be thankful for his magnanimous mercy. The trainee soldiers began to clap, making Damien happy as he found their applause even louder than the high-ranked trainee soldiers. Yan was clapping along while thinking that he needs to keep as low a profile as possible. But then a trainee soldier tells Damien that he has one request. Yan turned around to see who it was as the trainee soldiers held his thick muscular arm up. It turns out to be Roman, who was asking Damien if being a dragon warrior was that great. Roman continues to ask about what happens if he gets selected to participate in such a great project, while Yan was wondering what the idiot was trying to say. But then Roman suddenly became angry, shouting at Damien about his chances of punching his smug-looking face if he joined the program. All of their faces. The moment those words left his mouth, something flashes by in an instant, shooting through Roman's chest so fast to the point that he couldn't even react to it at all. But Yan knew what it was as he watched Roman fall. It was finger flick arts. It turns out to be from Damien, whose finger was pointing towards Roman. He thought that Roman was strong since he was spouting nonsense so confidently, but after seeing him fail to block the attack, Damien saw him as an insect. The other trainee soldiers gathered around Roman, whispering to him to get up while others wondered if he was dead. Yan was monitoring the situation. He knew that Roman would probably live if he stopped the bleeding, but it was too dangerous for him to help right now. Roman manages to get up, surprising the other trainee soldiers as they couldn't believe that he was able to withstand the instructor commander's attack. He continues to walk towards Damien after hearing him call them insects while ignoring the pleas from the others to stop. With blood dripping down from his mouth, he asks Damien about what would people like him who gathered them as insects would be then. Through his memories, Roman, in order to survive the filthy alleyways, they did all sorts of dirty work and endured all sorts of humiliation. Because their lives could only be survived if they did that. Things like the Emperor, being a dragon warrior, none of those things were important to Roman. Yan hears this and remains silent, as though he agrees with Roman, who continues to tell Damien that they should protect their oh-so-important Emperor themselves. Damien watches him, and calls him a pretty tenacious insect. Just like a cockroach. He even heard that cockroaches would survive even if their heads got chopped off. So with his finger primed and ready to go, Damien wanted to know if Roman was the same. Roman could only watch as a small ball of light started to appear at Damien's fingertip. But then, we are introduced to a crystal mole. A breed of wild rat that's found in the deep undergrounds of a mountain range. It's very notorious despite its cute appearance. It's notoriously known for the fact that when its crystal comes into the slightest contact with something else, just like right now where it had been thrown between Roman and Damien's finger attack, it'd start to shine and explode. It turns out to be a flashbang. Damien was stunned to see the sudden appearance of the crystal mole while Roman had been burnt completely by its flash, causing him to faint once again in front of everyone. Yan was watching him at a closer distance, thinking that it was a waste of a crystal mole. He saw it in the toilet and brought it along in case he had a use for it. But he never imagined that he would use it so quickly. The problem right now was the instructor commander. Yan was hoping that he didn't get caught by him. He takes a big gulp, knowing that it would be over for him if he gets caught right now. Luckily, Damien simply turns around, telling everyone that Roman was as tenacious as a cockroach. Which he likes. He then orders for the dismissal for everyone. Yan was relieved to hear that as he believes that he was safe for now. He could only call Roman an idiot as he watches him get dragged away by the other trainee soldiers. Deep down, Yan knew the reason why he was so desperate. Following a spiral staircase, we see Damien alone, laughing to himself. He wore a smile on his face, believing that he had found himself an interesting toy as he recalls the faces of Yan and Roman. We now return to Area 3 abandoned toilet, the location and starting point of Yan's escape plan. The hole he made earlier on had become even bigger now, but Yan was struggling. He believes that he had let his guard down since this was the third day he was doing this. He couldn't believe that he didn't bring a mask along. Once again, this is trainee soldier number 974, Yan. This is his third day of preparing for his escape. Dig a tunnel, hold it up with wooden boards and repeat. That was Yan's plan, and things have been going smoothly for the past 3 days. Since he can see pretty well in the dark with mana-enhanced eyes, Yan had no issues even if the tunnel was dark. No one has passed by this place for the past 3 days because this place is an abandoned building that doesn't even show up on the map. As he continued to dig even deeper, Yan found himself progressing faster than he thought, but then, he felt that something had hit his knife. And so, he digs even deeper, revealing a bright light which shocks him. The trainee soldiers were now returning to the instructor as he called out for their numbers one by one. He soon reaches number 974 and sees Yan. But he tells him to stop as there was a suspicious smell coming from him. He immediately orders him to remove his hood to reveal what he was hiding. Yan gladly follows his orders, taking off his hood to reveal a green substance covering his face. He explains to the instructor that he broke one of the barrels that he was moving by mistake, and it happened to contain waste. The instructor immediately screams out at the smell of shit coming from Yan. So he tells Yan to get lost immediately. Our boy finally washes himself and his clothes well enough to get rid of the smell, but he was glad that no one had suspected him this far. It turns out that the shit was from the drain pipe that he hit while digging. It was on the level of a dragon shit, making him question what these people were eating for their poop to smell so bad. He also knew that there was no need to panic as the plan was proceeding without any issues after all. He had gathered a dagger, a rope and other tools for his escape. His body was also ready to a certain extent. He recalled that he thought that he was going to really die because of the intense training he had to put himself through in such a short time. But it worked out fine, so there was only one thing left for him to do, but as he was drying his clothes, he overheard some instructors talking. He closes in on them to eavesdrop. The instructors were talking about Damien and how they were scared of him to the point that they couldn't even breathe, but one of them heard a rumor that Damien will soon be away from this post. Yan heard it perfectly, with a smile on his face and his clothes back on. Knowing that Damien won't be around was pretty important information. This was such a good opportunity that he couldn't pass up on. The moment he left, a figure appeared silently. Yan had returned to Area 3's abandoned toilet. He decided to finish everything up before going back. But he stops in his tracks as he hears footsteps coming from a certain direction, making him wonder who it is. His first thoughts were either Lorena or Damien, the instructor commander, making him think that they had caught on to his plan. His eyes widened as he saw who it was. It turned out to be Roman. Who asks Yan about why he sounded disappointed. Yan tells him that if he was following him around, then he didn't have time to deal with him. Roman was shocked to hear that Yan was treating him like a stalker. Yan then asks him if it was alright for him to move around with such injuries. Roman flexes and points out to him that the injuries were nothing to him. But Yan knew otherwise. He points out to Roman that his blood was spurting out like a fountain, but Roman denies it, saying it was one of his pimples that burst instead. Yan was glad to hear that and brushes past Roman, telling him that he had things to do. But as he did, Roman knew that he was pretty busy, and revealed to Yan that he knew about him digging a dog hole to escape. He smirks while asking Yan about how wonderful it would be if the instructors found out. Yan could only give him the biggest bombastic side eye as a response.
Thanks for watching the latest part from the voice of Manhwa. Subscribe for more content and don't forget to comment below what you want to see in the future. Like and share for more.